Hello, everyone. This is a brief summary of the film The Birth of a Nation. This movie is based on real events. Virginia, 1809. Nat is a young enslaved boy who often plays with a white child named Sam, the son of the estate owners. Nat again doesn't get any porridge and suffers from hunger. Seeing this, Nat's father goes out at night through the woods to find some food. Nat follows him and witnesses the man being caught by a patrol searching for runaways. In charge of this patrol is the brutal overseer Raymond. He wants to punish the fugitive, but the latter resists. He seriously wounds one pursuer and strikes Raymond on the head with a stone. To save his family from retribution, the man is forced to flee. He manages to hide the food he found under the floorboards. The kind master, who formerly owns Nat's family, wants to protect his people, but Raymond shoves him out of the cabin and is about to use his knife. Luckily, the master's intervention saves the day. His wife, Mrs. Elizabeth, discovers that young Nat can read letters and invites the boy to stay in the house. She promises to teach him to read and write, so he will live at the estate for a while. Nat's mother, Nancy, has no choice but to accept that her son will be taken away for some time. At the house, Nat sees a luxurious library. Elizabeth explains that most of these books are for whites, and that there is a special book for someone like him, the Bible. She wants to raise Nat to become a young preacher. However, just before his death, Sam's father decides that Nat will be more useful working in the fields. So the boy returns to a huge cotton plantation, where he and his mother spend long years filling bags with cotton. Yet, he continues to preach and read scripture to the people working around him, urging them to keep their faith. Sam, the heir to the estate, has grown up as well. Reverend Hall notices that the workers seem particularly calm and obedient. It turns out that Nat's preaching has helped the people accept their harsh lot and suppress any urge to rebel. For the plantation owners, this looks like a convenient way to keep the enslaved in check. Meanwhile, Raymond continues hunting runaways. Right now, he's tracking a couple. At one point, Nat picks up a toy that a child has dropped, but the child's father immediately strikes him. That cruel man keeps beating Nat until Nat grabs his cane. "I need the sheriff. He attacked me," the man shouts to Sam, but Sam defends Nat. On their way home, they see a dark-skinned man lying motionless by the roadside. Perhaps Raymond found the one he was after. Later, Nat and others witness people being sold like cattle. An 18-year-old girl is there, about to be turned into a mere plaything for entertainment. Feeling sorry for her, Nat asks his master to purchase her, saying she would make a fine gift for the master's sister's wedding. Sam steps in and outbids the others, making a favorable deal. When they return home with their new purchase, the frightened girl named Cherry lashes out at Nat like a wild animal. She doesn't know what awaits her. The women of the house tidy Cherry up, and Sam happily presents her to his sister Catherine, something Catherine has long wanted. Together with Catherine and Elizabeth, Cherry is supposed to move into Catherine's husband's house. Nat says goodbye to his new acquaintance and gives her a bouquet of flowers. Nat's older brother, Hark, marries his beloved, and the enslaved community holds a small celebration. Meanwhile, Nat continues preaching. Sometime later, Cherry appears in the church. Seeing her, Nat is so flustered he starts to stutter, glad for even a brief chance to talk to the woman he loves. He can't stop thinking about her. One night, unable to bear it any longer, Nat rides over to Cherry's house to profess his feelings and propose. Cherry agrees immediately, and soon they marry. Around this time, Reverend Hall visits Sam again. He says that neighboring plantation owners are willing to pay good money if Nat uses his sermons to keep other enslaved people from protesting or rebelling. Thanks to the income Nat can bring in, Sam can finally pay off his debts. Nat's mother and grandmother see him and Sam off when they depart for these neighboring plantations. Their first stop is an owner named Rendell, a wealthy man complaining about hard times. To cut costs, he feeds his enslaved workers only once a day. He wants Nat to persuade them that they will get into heaven only if they are meek and fully obedient to their master. The hungry and exhausted people are herded into a barn, where they listen to biblical passages about submitting to their masters, even if they are harsh. What Sam sees there appalls him. He wants to leave quickly and can't forget what he has witnessed. In the meantime, Cherry talks about being taken from her family at the age of 13, and she and Nat are now expecting a baby. Sam continues to get rich from the payments for Nat's sermons. Soon, Cherry gives birth to a daughter, bringing both her and Nat true happiness. When Sam and Nat arrive at another estate, No one meets them at the entrance, so Sam steps away to find the owner. At that moment, a dog is set on Nat. The local manager, known for his cruelty, is out inspecting the field, brandishing a whip for all to see. He decides to punish one of the enslaved men who has gone on a hunger strike. When the man again refuses to eat his porridge, the manager's men use brutal force. They cause him severe injuries and then forcibly pour the porridge down his throat through a funnel. All of this happens right in front of Nat and Sam. It turns out that these are exactly the kind of plantation owners willing to pay Sam, because people fear Nat's religious influence even more than weapons. Through tears, Nat tries to preach to these miserable souls, but instead of his usual words about obedience, many hear a hidden call to defend themselves. The white owners fail to grasp the hidden message. Later, Cherry goes to fetch water and is overtaken by Raymond and his men. He accuses her of being too close to the woods, but in reality, it's just an excuse to attack her. Sam is too drunk at the time to help. When he finds out what happened, he allows Cherry and Nat to spend the night at his mother's house. Elizabeth says, "God will punish those who treated this poor girl so cruelly." Cherry miraculously survives the assault. Once she recovers a bit, she apologizes to her husband, while Nat is furious to learn who abused his wife. Cherry begs him to abandon the idea of revenge. Sam pretends nothing happened and orders Nat back to his duties. That same day, Sam hosts many guests, plantation owners, at his house. He makes Nat say a prayer before dinner. Nobody notices the words about oppressing the weak, as Nat tries to hint at the cruelty around them. Soon after the feast, one of the guests demands that he be given Hark's wife, Esther, for the night. Sam does nothing to protect her, and effectively allows a servant to carry out the humiliating order. Nat tries to reason with his master, but Sam threatens to punish everyone if they refuse the guest's demand. Not long after, Esther comes out of the house in tears. Hark rushes to comfort her, exclaiming in despair, "Where is God now?" Later, a libertine shunned by the local churches asks Nat to baptize him, at least in secret. The manager is furious, saying a black man cannot baptize a white man. But Elizabeth supports Nat, and the ceremony takes place despite the risk of angering Sam. When Sam returns to the estate and learns of Nat's self-will, he decides to punish him. Moreover, Nat begins to openly oppose Sam, reproaching him for his inhumane treatment of people. The plantation owner then orders Nat chained up and severely beaten in front of everyone. Elizabeth can barely hold back her tears as Nat, battered and bloody, doesn't even cry out. He merely smiles numbly. They leave him chained to a post until late at night. The manager threatens that if Nat survives, life will be even worse for him. But Nat remains unbroken. In the morning, he struggles to his feet, meets Sam, and says, "Yes, sir, I've learned my lesson." Sam tells him to wash up and head out to the field as if nothing happened. Sam himself sinks into a deep depression and starts drinking heavily, knowing how wrong his actions are. Soon, Nat's grandmother dies. She was born enslaved and died enslaved. For Nat, this is the last straw. After his loved one's funeral, he asks his brother Hark to gather their most trusted companions. Late at night, 6 men come together by the fire. A very young boy named Jasper from Rendell's plantation joins them as well. Nat explains that for every Bible verse about slavery, there is a verse about freedom, and that good will one day rise up against evil. The first can become the last, and the last can become the first. He points out that there are far more black enslaved people than white masters, and the main goal is to capture the armory located about 15 kilometers, 9 miles, from their estate. They plan to move from plantation to plantation until they reach the right town. Isaac, a fellow servant who learns about the conspiracy, begs Nat to stop. Does he really want bloody retribution, the death of their own brothers, and possibly the death of his own wife? But the preacher is convinced he is chosen by God. A long time passes and Cherry still can't get out of bed. She suspected that one day the enslaved might rise up, but never imagined her husband would lead them. It all begins at Sam's estate. He wakes up drunk and sees Nat before him, who kills him without hesitation with a blow from an axe. The strong will overpowers the manager. Nat enters his mother's quarters and tells her she won't need to work today. She's free now. This is how the uprising ignites. Nat then gathers the other enslaved people from Sam's plantation and tells them, "We're all already dead," prompting a terrified Isaac to cry out. Nat answers that they are only now starting to truly live, because they intend to serve God alone, not their masters. Inspired by his words, the people moved from plantation to plantation, eliminating those who have kept them in bondage. Eventually, they reach the property of those who used to torture their workers by pulling out their teeth. Will personally sees to dealing with these tormentors. Young Jasper, witnessing the brutal killings, gets scared and runs away. On Rendell's plantation, the rebels are ambushed. Enslaved men warned in advance by the runaway Jasper open fire on them. That day, they lose another young member of their group. Nat and his comrades press on toward the town, where they face off against Raymond Cobb's detachment. About 15 men are armed with muskets, the rest with melee weapons. But the former slaves do not retreat. Nat inspires them with a short speech, and they charge. Some rebels are killed by the first musket volley, and a bloody battle ensues. In the fight, Raymond wounds Nat and moves in to finish him off, but Nat overpowers Raymond and delivers a fatal knife strike. Ultimately, the rebels prevail and break into the armory, hoping to find weapons. But inside the crates, they discover only rocks. A military unit is already waiting for them and immediately opens fire. Almost all of the former slaves are shot down on the spot. Will is hit in the heart while trying to escape. Those remaining inside are killed by a cannon blast, including Nat's brother Hark. Only Nat manages to escape. After that, a real manhunt begins. Enslaved black people across the state are hanged or subjected to horrifying reprisals. One day, Nat secretly meets Cherry, but she can't even turn her head to look at him. She tells him that the killings won't stop until the authorities capture Nat. Realizing this, he decides to surrender and heads to the nearest town. There, a furious mob nearly tears him apart, but General Child stops the lynching, insisting they wait for an official verdict. Awaiting execution, Nat spends some time in jail. Finally, they lead him through the crowd to the gallows. He hears curses and even receives a blow from someone in the crowd. Before his death, Nat is given a chance to say his last words. He only replies, "I am ready." The noose is placed around his neck. At that moment, Nat notices Jasper in the crowd, the very boy who once betrayed them. Years pass. Jasper, now an adult, enlisted in the Union Army during the Civil War. The uprising lasted only 48 hours, during which about 60 owners and their family members were killed.